I don't know if you've seen the guy got shot and ran in here a couple weeks ago. The one EMT guy must have been like a military dude, and he was like, who put the zip ties on this guy's leg? I was like, I'm like, yeah, fucking guy was bleeding out. All right, what's up, man? My name's Sal Pepe. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. This is the shop I work at, Vax Moto, and I've been doing this about 20 years. So I'd have to say, started off on dirt bikes. Pretty sure I was like 13 or 14, and I had I think it was a TM 400, two-stroke steel frame, like old 70s Enduro. That was my first bike. You know, just ripping around Brooklyn, no license plate, fucking jeans and a t-shirt, jumping curbs, like, you know, just living it up. I rode BMX and skateboarded a little. I was into cars. I had hot rods. I street raced and stuff like that. And I actually ended up doing construction with a guy that was in a club. And this guy had a sick fucking shovelhead chopper in his bedroom. Like, amazing. And once I seen that, that was it. I was getting a chopper. Game over. So first custom bike I built was my shovelhead, which I still have. And I had a little one-car garage I rented because there's really nowhere to park in Brooklyn. Like, you can't just leave your shit in the street. They're going to jack it in 2 seconds. So me and a couple friends got a little one-car garage. We split it. And then, you know, people just started coming around, like seeing the bikes. And they're like, hey, do you guys work on bikes? And we didn't. It was never supposed to be a shop. But then it's like, yeah, fuck it. I'll put a, you know, do the rocker box gaskets on this guy's Sportster, and that was it. That was 25 or 20 something years ago, and then that was it. Sal's a bike mechanic. I built my chopper, and rode that around forever, and went to a couple shows, won a couple trophies, went down to Bike Week, won a couple trophies and this and that, and won a big, like the big bike show in the corner of like South Brooklyn and Coney Island. I won like a trophy for like whatever class, and the local dude that owned the shop at the time was looking for a mechanic. And that was like a legit shop, 3 bays, you know, rocking and rolling fucking 12 hours a day. And I started working there. And then after about 7 or 8 years, he just kind of faded away and like left me to shop, and I took it over. And I had it for about 6 years. And then the landlord sold the building like every fucking thing else in Brooklyn, you know. And I didn't work on bikes for about a year, just kind of chill out. And then I went to work for Justin, which is where we are now, Vax Moto. And it was perfect because we do parking here. So in the winter, when I want to go on a 2-3 week motorcycle trip to Florida or wherever, it doesn't matter because, you know, we still have the storage and the parking comes in. So if I'm not here, it's all right. It's not like the shop stops once I'm gone. All right, so I tell everybody, work truck. So at 5 in the morning, this motherfucker needs to get me to where I got to be so I can make my dollars to feed my family and keep my whatever, right? I run 2 coils. You know, you're eventually going to need one. It might as well be on the bike. So if this fucking coil dies, all I got to do is swap these wires and the 2 splug wires, which you could do with a Leatherman. And as long as it's a coil, I'm back on the road. 2 voltage regulators. Those just stacked up. I have it to where the plug's over here and not up by the battery. And if the regulator goes, I can just swap it and be back on the road. I run a little gauge here, you know, that tells you your voltage. And it's also, you could charge your phones off it. But, you know, so as soon as I glance at this all the time, as soon as I see that's not where it's supposed to be, I can catch it and not smoke the battery and be stranded. I run a vented primary. That's an argument I've been having with Harley mechanics for a million years. I run a chain, you know, just because it's more serviceable. Not that I'm against belts. Belts are cool, but, you know, chains and flames you got to have on a bike, right? The exhaust system I made out of a couple different exhaust systems. It's not loud, you know, again, work truck. When I start this motherfucker up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I don't want to be that guy, you know, or if I come home from the bar at 5 o'clock in the morning, I don't want to be that guy. So the motor's not too big because, you know, I don't want it to overheat. I want it to last as long as it can. And I guess I got something right because this motor's got about 180,000 miles on it. So I live in the corner of Brooklyn, South Brooklyn, and like basically from like here to here is my view from my balcony since I'm 3 years old. You know, this bike looks this way, partially because that's how I want it, but also because that's how it needs to be to get the job done, you know?
I told Bobby we were coming over here, and Bobby talked shit on everybody.
Right.
And he said, I can't talk any shit on this guy. I
Okay.
think that's the first time I ever heard Bobby be at loss of words.
Bobby Seeger does not give a fuck. What do you think about him? And it's hard to find somebody like that. You know, he owns that awesome shop, runs that awesome shop, and really, you know, everybody wants one of those bikes. Can they afford one? No. But there's a lot more people out there that can afford those bikes than what they sell, and they don't sell them, you know, and that's, I guess, selling out, right? You could just make a fucking million of these things. You know, you could have a couple mechanics in there making the same bike, but they don't. You know, those bikes, like Larry's whole thing was, like, this whole thing, whatever you want to call it, is special, and the bikes are special. And, you know, that was a big thing when Larry passed and Bob took over that shop. People said shit, and I've had to check people, whatever, how long that's been now, for years. Like, yeah, no, bro. Like, he could have did that, but they never did. You know, he could be selling 25 bikes a year. They don't. I mean, I don't know. They might have, sometimes they might go a year and not even sell a fucking bike, you know? They just don't got the right guy, you know? Like, yeah, I don't want this guy having a bike, you know? So, I mean, there's a lot of clowns in the industry, and Bob is definitely not one of them.